So, what's really important, see, Veronica's all distracted because we're distracted by looking at things now, so just a moment. We won't look at that, okay. So, one of the things that's really, really important that actually came out of a private session is this idea that we've been trying to get across is being summarized eloquently and with a sense of humor and with the ability to bring into sharp focus the idea that just don't bring your baggage to the moment. Just don't bring your baggage with you to the moment. And we've had a lot of ways of talking about your baggage. And by your baggage, of course, that's just sort of a humorous way to say, we want the moment to be as crystalline, as clear, as neutral. That's that term we've been using, neutral observation. To have that be the experience you have. And a way to remind yourself of it is to use this little saying, don't bring your baggage to the moment. So let's look at the ways baggage has shown up and the ways we've talked about it. Of course, we looked at fear. For weeks, we looked at fear. Because fear is so huge in your lives. It's so deep into your cells and to your system. It so much permeates everything that it required weeks of conversation in order to stir you up enough, to pull it out enough, to bring it to this moment enough, to catch yourself in the fears that you're expressing. So we looked at fear, and we looked at catching yourself when you do cascading fears, or when you do concurrent fears. One of the things that came up in the private session recently is the idea of the stories you tell. The stories you tell about the moment, how you explain away the moment rather than be present in it. Oh, well, he must be having a bad day or he wouldn't have pulled his car in front of me, right? Those sorts of things. Where you decide how it is rather than ask. Or rather than be neutral. Because really what we're getting at is your ability to neutrally observe your life means that you didn't bring anything to the moment. You didn't gather things up from your past. You didn't pull things in from the future. You didn't allow your fears to be involved. What you said was, what is this moment? And only this moment is what I'm experiencing. So don't bring your baggage to the moment is the funny little way of saying, what's here now? What's really here right now without distortion? What's really here right now if I ask my soul to help me see it from its eyes? And that's one of the reasons why we have been asking you to try to take your soul's perspective. It's because your soul doesn't bring baggage into the moment. Because your soul doesn't see anything as baggage, right? That's one of the reasons. But the other reason is the soul is enamored by the moment. The moment is enough just as it is. It doesn't require extra. It doesn't require protection. It doesn't require justification. It doesn't require any sort of desire for safety. So none of that has to be involved in the process of experiencing the moment. It simply is. So don't bring your baggage to the moment. Don't ask for more than what beautifully is to be revealed to you. Don't cling to safety by dredging other things up. Don't require habitual response in order to fill that space that can sometimes feel a bit like a void when you really look at the moment without all the stories, without all the past, without all the future, without all the judgments, without all the fear, without all these other coping mechanisms you've used to make it make sense to be here on the planet at this time, it can feel like a void. And you're very good at filling voids with busyness. But the request that's being made of you is to say, hang on. What if I just experience this void and let that void tell me the truth of this moment? Not the 5-year-old version of this moment. Not the ex-husband version of this moment. Not the I'm in pain version of this moment. Not the I'm getting old version of this moment. But what if you were able to experience the moment just as it is, without requiring old habits, old patterns, to dictate to you how you experience it? That's really the question that's being asked. It's more, can you leave your baggage and experience this moment without baggage? Are you willing to? And we imagine the answer is yes, so we'll just continue on. We'll act like that's a rhetorical question. So if you say, fine, I'm going to check my baggage and I'm going to just abandon it here because I don't need it anymore, which literally many of you are doing as you're cleaning out your houses, yes? And you're doing as you clean your cells, right? We've talked about this, that you're pulling all this stuff out of your cells and releasing it as you're doing this transformational work right now. And if you show up in the moment and say, hey, moment, I'm here, and I don't have any baggage. Well, the first thing that's going to happen is baggage is going to ask for attention. Of course. Baggage is going to look for your attention. And that's when the fears pop up. That's why we did 4 weeks of fear. You did a little intensive course in fear. Because you needed practice at seeing what fear does. How fear shows up. How fear likes to act in your life. So that you can say, oh, look, I'm doing concurrent fears. Or, oh, look, I'm doing cascading fears. So you can catch yourself. You can be aware. If you're not aware that it's happening, then what? You're unconscious, right? We have to check in on that again, too. So you're aware. And you say, okay, I showed up, no baggage in my moment. And then fear came in. What do I do? Well, we practice this. So you say, all of God's creatures, especially big ones that fly, you say, in the moment, you say, what is this teaching me? Where's the aha? What does this reveal to me? Remember all these questions we've learned to ask ourselves? And then when you skip to another fear, you say, oh, I see you, fear, doing concurrent fears. Ah, that's right. It's all the same fear. I don't have to start over with what is this teaching me. I just have to catch that fear and bring it back to this one. And then I say, okay, what is this teaching me? And don't be afraid for the answer to be, I'm scared, or I don't know, or I'm confused, or I'm habitually depressed, or whatever else it might be. The answer to what is it teaching me doesn't have to be earth-shattering. That's not the point. It's not the point that it's earth-shattering. It's the point that it's habituationally shattering. It shatters that habit that tells you how it has to be. That's the point.